Thank you very much. I have to read to observe the 7 minutes. Otherwise, I've never read a speech before. Dear friends of the Social Democratic Party of Sweden, my dear friend Mr. Löfven, you honored me and my country, Palestine, by inviting me to your Congress and allowing me to address you from this podium. I bring you greetings from Mr. Abbas, our president of Palestine, and Fatah. I'm sure I do represent every Palestinian and Arab man and woman in expressing the love we have of Sweden and of your party and its leadership. And the gratitude for years of support of our struggle for freedom, independence, and peace, and the principle stands culminating in the step of recognizing the state of Palestine the day your party won the elections and represented the Swedish people in offering us solidarity and in embracing our cause and legitimacy in this changing world. This was not an isolated or a belated step. It was the culmination of efforts, starting with Olof Palme, continued by Sten Andersson, Ingvar Carlsson, Anna Lindh, and many other Swedish social democrats. Your present leaders continued that moral principled commitment. You, Mr. Löfven and Minister Wallström, the foreign minister, carried the torch for freedom and human rights. Your party and people carried for years for Palestine and before that for South Africa and for other people suffering from colonial occupation, oppression, and apartheid. I met here Mr. Thabo Mbeki and Oliver Tambo, where the ANC led its international struggle out of Stockholm. It was out of Sweden that Count Bernadotte and Dag Hammarskjöld made heroic efforts that cost them their lives for the achievement of justice, freedom, and peace in Palestine and the world all over. I recall our meeting with Palme in Algeria, where Arafat was on his way to the UN, calling on the world to support the struggle of Palestinians for freedom and peace with the Israelis. His meetings with Palme, Kreisky, and Brandt, bringing us into the family of social democracy, started years of intensive dialogue with Israelis. I recall the meetings here in Stockholm in 1988, chaperoned by Ingvar Carlsson and Sten Andersson after declaration of Palestinian state in Algeria and the commitment of the PLO to the two-state solution and to the UN resolutions 242 and 338. And the years that followed with efforts of Mr. Persson and Anna Lindh and many others, and the political and economic support that your party and country offered continuously. The commitment of your party to solidarity with our people never wavered or hesitated. You were the pioneers in Scandinavia and in Europe and in the international community. Then, of course, Stefan Löfven's and Margot Wallström's work with the courageous steps you took came as to top the efforts that you have been doing for years. I could not but feel proud of you and your party. When I noted the warm applause yesterday to the speech of Stefan Löfven when he talked about standing up with our and other refugees streaming across the Mediterranean, I felt proud of you. We do not produce oil. We have a little gas, I think, on the offshore, but we have not been able to use it yet. And you do not have huge economic interests in Palestine. You act on long-term principles, not on immediate material advantage. But yours is the right calculation for the interests of peace, justice, human rights, and freedom in the world. Because these are the principles upon which one world can rise to the challenge of extremism, the challenges of terrorism, despotism, racism, and chaos. The social democratic approach is the road to justice, rights, equality, creating governments based on democracy and social responsibility, peace based on justice and equality. Solidarity is not suicidal or irresponsible. Solidarity is the only way to build a better world for Palestine, for Africa, but also for Sweden and the rest of Europe. Your recognition of the State of Palestine was not rhetoric or just symbolic. It was a fundamental step to create an international commitment to peace based on justice, human rights, including that of self-determination and equality. A step in the direction of social democracy, legitimacy, stability, and peace. You see what is happening in the Middle East and the Arab world? How much is being paid for the world's inability to enforce international law, ending hegemony and racism? Those countries that supported Al-Qaeda and Daesh to enforce their interests are reaping today nothing but extremism, chaos, and destruction. Failure to implement the peace agreements of Palestine have produced nothing but colonial settlements, apartheid, destruction of Gaza, and absence of peace. A just peace in Palestine remains the cornerstone for peace, security, stability, and prosperity for the whole Middle East and the Mediterranean, also for Europe and the rest of the world. The world is changing. It is not anymore a unipolar world. It is growing into a balanced, responsible, multipolar world. Look at the negotiations that have ended chemical weapons in Syria. Those dedicated to ending nuclear threats in Iran, or those attempting to defuse the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. They are all negotiated through a multinational forums based on international law. They're not negotiated just by the United States. This is what is needed in Palestine. We want you, Sweden, Europe, Russia, China, South Africa, Brazil, to be the community chaperoning negotiations based on terms of reference of international legality, ending colonial settlements and resort to violence, putting a dead end to occupation and respecting signed agreements. We are not going to violence. Our struggle is non-violent. And we are not abandoning international legality. We are seeking it. We want a negotiated peace. We seek justice, equality. We want to end occupation. We want to reunite our country. We need to rebuild Gaza and end its misery. We want our inalienable right to justice, independence, freedom, and prosperity. We need a stable, viable peace. Enough of wars, enough of occupation, enough of racism and violence. To achieve those aspirations, Sweden is very important, and your party is very important, as it always was. Our partners in social democracy have the right approach, the right vision, and the right tools. Furthermore, you have the guts and courage to make it work. You have the right approach to the problems of Sweden and Europe too. I applauded the speech of your friend, the Prime Minister, and your leader. We in Fatah are leading the Arab Social Democratic Forum, closely associated with European social democracy. We believe it is the answer to the Arab problems and also to Palestine. South Africa and Brazil and all of Latin America found in socialism and democracy the road to freedom, equality, and progress. And that is what we are seeking. You have made it work in Scandinavia and the rest of Europe. You will continue your quest, and we will continue our struggle for these principles and objectives. Long live Sweden, long live Palestine, long live social democracy and freedom for our people. Thank you very much.